Now, what we've been talking a lot recently about the future of WordPress, one of the key components we can't overlook is WooCommerce. Now, WooCommerce is still part of Automattic, and it's probably the most popular e-commerce platform when it comes to working with WordPress. One of the big changes they brought in a little while back is the beta version of the way in which you create products. Now, it's not fully featured. There are still some things that are missing out from it, and I did do a video when it first kind of was released. But I want to come back and take a look and go through the process of creating a product, and we can take a look and highlight some of the positives and some of the negatives. So, first of all, how do you go about enabling this feature? Now, first, I would say please don't do this on a live site. Only do this on a test site, which is exactly what we're doing here. So what you need to do is come in to the WooCommerce section, into settings, into advanced. From there, go into features, and you'll have an option that says try the new product editor beta. So we're going to use that, hit save changes, and you'll have access to it. So now we come and create a product. So now when you add that new product, you're going to see this is the first big change you're going to notice. Everything is tabbed. So now we have general, which is a more basic setup, your variations, your organization, and so on. Like it or not, there's positives to this. It means that the interface is a little less overwhelming for newer users or people just kind of getting in you. But the negative that I found is that there's extra clicks now to do different things. Great if you want to come in and edit something on the general section, but if you want to edit something in general and in variations and adjust the inventory and any link products, there's 4 extra clicks just to do that. Kind of annoying, but you know, whether you like it or not. So what would be nice here is the ability to switch between the tabbed view and a normal everything view. That way you don't have to worry about the tabs. You know, again, it'd be nice if this is something they changed as we move forward. But let's take a quick look. So first of all, we've got our basic details where we can see we're dealing with a standard product. You can change this over now between 3 different types. Currently, this is probably going to expand later on, but you've got your standard product, which is what we're used to seeing, like t-shirts and clothing and things like that. Grouped products, which are a collection of things together that you may want to put in that make up a overall product package, should we say, and an affiliate product, which is an external link as opposed to being a product that you can purchase directly on the website. So these are the things that you're used to working with when it comes to WooCommerce anyway. We're going to stick to the standard product type. The other 2 are going to work in fundamentally the same way. There's going to be some slightly different options available, but the interface is going to be very familiar. So let's try this. We'll just say cushions. We'll create some soft furnishings just because they were the first things I downloaded. Regular price, sale price, well, we're used to those. So let's just say these are $19.99. Cool. Do you want to schedule a sale? No. We'll pop in a brief description and your longer description. Now, I'm not going to worry about this. We're not going to worry about what the front end looks like. This is just testing things out. Okay, so there we go. We've added that in. You can see that we've got a basic editor here with some really simple things like links and alignment and bold and so on. You can switch into a full editor if you want more control. And this takes you then over into a more Gutenberg full site editing type layout. There's your content. As you select, you can see we now get more options. Again, Gutenberg type options for your text, your background, typography, dimensions, borders, and so on. You can do some basic things here. There's not a huge amount that you can see in the interface, but you can come into the plus and then you effectively have all the Gutenberg options. So this does open up a lot more options when you want to get creative with the description. You want to add videos in there, image galleries and so on. So this is pretty cool. It's a nice step forward. And if you like working with Gutenberg and you're comfortable working with this side of things, this is all going to feel incredibly familiar to you. So we'll just say done on that. That is a pretty cool thing. You can see that flips things over to a slightly different version where it will show you all those extra things. Then we've got our images. So we'll say, let's choose image. We'll choose these 3 and we'll click on select. So now we've added some images in. There's no downloads, but if you want to include downloads, you can see you can add those and we can simply add new, or we can upload or insert from a URL. Up to you how you want to work. Okay, we're not dealing with downloads here. So there's the basics set up. So now we're going to switch over to variations. So you can see now we've got another tab now to do the next things. But I do appreciate what's going on here because variations and attributes have always been a bit of a pain when it comes to working with WooCommerce. You've got to go to a different place to create certain things, or the editing interface is not that nice to work with. This does make it a lot better. So let's say we want to add some options in. So first thing you do is, what is your attribute? What is your option? So you can see I've already created some previously with color and size. Let's just say we're going to create a new one. So we'll say cushion size. Then we can create our values. So what you need to do is just use a comma at the end and it'll automatically create those for you. Again, not too dissimilar to what we've seen in the past, but it is a lot nicer to work with inside here. It's a lot less overwhelming. One of the benefits, I suppose, of having these modals and not having everything in one place. Again, like I say, like it all over. It's up to you which way you kind of prefer. Let's just say we want to add another one in now. We're going to say material. We'll create that. That opens up the next options. And we can add some more options in. There we go. So we'll add those. And now you'll notice what happens is it takes a little bit of time, but it creates the variations for us. So you can see there's cushion size and material. So we've got those options there. And we can edit these if we want to. We can come back in and edit them. That's cool. And you can see that opens up some more options. Set as default values, showing product details. You know, you get the idea. Update that. So now you can see that this has created all of the variations for us. We haven't had to create anything here. So now you've got your large cotton, large velvet, large wool, luxury cotton, luxury velvet. So they're all done. And what this is quite useful. It tells us now we haven't set the prices. So you can say set prices and you can enter a value. What you can also do is choose to view more of these. Let's say 25 of our variations. We currently have 12, so that's cool. We can now select all of these and you can see we can do some quick updating options. So we can say we want to set the regular price. So we could say specific prices, a flat price, for example. So we'll say $19.99 for all of those. You probably wouldn't, but you get the idea. We can also then come in and say we want to add in stock. So we'll say we've got 10 of all of these in stock. And as we do, you can see this updates. Again, like I say, it isn't super quick, but it is a lot easier than working with these individually. But you can still work with them individually. You can see we can disable this, and we can now come in and we can edit the individual item. That now takes us over into a different section. And as you can see, about what I'm talking about, how long it takes to load. This is quite slow. But what this has done now is it's taken us over to that particular variation. So you can see we now have slightly different options. Tells us which one we're looking at, which is the large cotton. We've got general, so we can set the different price in here. So we may say the large one is actually $29.99. You can put some notes inside here if you want to. You can hide it from the product catalog and you can put in unique images. So you may say you want to put a specific image. This one, for example, click select, job done. You may say the inventory is different. You can drop in an SKU or SKU code for you, whatever you want. We'll say in this example, we've actually only got 5 of these available. Yes, we want to track our inventory. If there's a difference in shipping, we can set the shipping differences inside here based upon specific shipping classes or the width and the height and the weight and so on. So if you're doing with that, you can set it up here, hit update. That's now updated it. Then you can go back to the main product from here and you see this one now has the different options. So you could use the sort of catch-all to do the basics and then you could edit things afterwards, or you can simply select the ones that you want. So you may say all of these, for example, the large ones, they're all going to be set at a certain price. So you can say we'll update the price here, for example. So we'll set our regular price. These are going to be $29.99. You get the idea. There's various different ways in which you can tackle this. And the same thing again, we can just quick update and we'll say we want to update stock. We'll say there's only 5 of all of those in stock. Okay, it's pretty quick. These are some of the aspects that I do like about working with this way. Let's deselect all those. You'll notice that we can edit directly, or we can click on these actions and we can toggle the visibility, pricing, inventory, shipping, downloads, and so on. You can see we can set increase. So all the options that you're kind of used to in the existing WooCommerce are still here. They've just been set up in a slightly different way. So this is one of those areas that I do actually appreciate. I think this is a much better way of working. I think it's going to be less intimidating for people that are not that comfortable working with WooCommerce products. Anyway, so that's the first part. Let's just go over to the organization. So this allows you now to choose where these come into. So we'll say these are not uncategorized, they're soft furnishings. If you want to add new ones in here, you can do that. Add tags in. You can add your attributes. So again, this works in fundamentally the same way as we've just seen. So you can add attributes here if you want to, and you can stack these on top of each other. You get the idea. And again, the attributes will show underneath. If you've got custom fields, you can show those custom fields here. We don't have anything, so I'm not going to worry about it. But you can add new custom fields in if you want to. Now, bear in mind, these are the sort of the native WordPress types of custom fields, not something you've got like ACF, MetaBox, those kinds of things. Then your inventory options. So we've got our variations, and we can track things inside here. Any post-purchase notes, your shipping then. So you can see we can set things up globally, or we can set things up on instance basis, and we can group things together, and we can apply various different shippings and things to the different sort of sizes and weights and things. And then finally, you've got your linked products. So all in all, it's a bit of a positive and a negative. I really do appreciate the variation side of things where you can set those up and how quick and easy it is to work with those in comparison to the original way of working or the existing non-beta way. I'm not a big fan of having all the tabs across the top or the fact that when you click something, it opens up in a separate window, whereas it would make so much more sense to just have a modal like we have for various other things. From click on edit, like I say, this gives you this prompt to say it's going to leave the site, and then you're going to go over to a different section. I think that would add a level of confusion, whereas opening a modal like you do with the variations and so on would be a more logical step and easier way of working. Maybe there's a technical issue why it can't be done, but I can't see why. Should we load that back in Ajax in the background? So let's wrap things up by saying what my pros and cons are for this newer way of working with WooCommerce. The pros, I do really appreciate how much easier it is to create these variations. It's a much more visual, more logical way of working than the existing method, which can be very confusing for newer users. I also appreciate the fact that it is simpler for newer users, but that comes with a penalty of the fact that we've got multiple different tabs across the top, increasing the number of clicks that we need to do when you're not so much creating products, but flipping back and forth between the different settings or making edits to various different parts of a product, like I say, variations, inventory, shipping, and so on. It adds extra clicks in. So an option to toggle the tabbed version or the standard all-in-one version would be much appreciated. Also, I'm not the biggest fan of when you edit a particular variation in this example, instead of opening up in a modal like it does when you do a lot of other things on here, it takes you over to a separate screen. If you haven't saved changes, it'll pop up with a warning which could kind of confuse people, saying do you want to leave the site? It's like, well, I don't want to leave the site. I want to stay on the site. I want to edit something else. I think there's confusion that would come in there. So this would be much better if this was in a modal as opposed to being a separate section. And yeah, I think there'd be better ways of handling that. Jump back to the main product. So overall, is it a hit or a miss? I'd say it's somewhere in the middle. Like I say, there are positives and there are negatives to this new approach. But as always, what are your thoughts? Would you be tempted to use this? If this becomes the standard way, is it going to be something that makes you look at alternatives, something like Shopify or other tools that are external to WordPress? Let me know in the comment section down below. As always, if you want to learn more about WordPress, you can check out these videos next. My name is Paul C. This is WPTuts, and until next time, take care.